Welcome to this lesson on dangling modifiers and misplaced phrases. These are two of the most common errors in written English, and they can turn a perfectly serious sentence into something unintentionally hilarious. The good news is that once you understand the rule, which is really just one rule, these errors become easy to spot and fix. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify both types of modifier problems and know exactly how to correct them. Here is what we will cover. First, what a dangling modifier is and why it creates confusion. Then, what a misplaced modifier is and how it differs from a dangling one. We will learn the one golden rule that applies to both problems. And finally, how to rewrite sentences to fix these errors. The golden rule is simple. A modifier must sit right next to the word it describes. When it does not, the sentence ends up saying something the writer never intended. That is where the confusion, and sometimes the comedy, comes from. A dangling modifier is a descriptive phrase, usually at the start of a sentence, that has no logical subject to attach to. Here is the classic example. Walking into the room, the whiteboard was blank. Who was walking into the room? According to the grammar of this sentence, it was the whiteboard. But whiteboards do not walk. The modifier is dangling because the person doing the walking is not mentioned in the sentence. To fix it, we add the missing subject. Walking into the room, Priya noticed the whiteboard was blank. Now, the modifier has someone to attach to. Priya is right next to the phrase, so we know she was walking. A misplaced modifier is different from a dangling one. With a misplaced modifier, the word the modifier should describe is actually in the sentence. It is just in the wrong spot. Look at this example. She almost drove her car for 6 hours. The word almost is next to drove, which makes it sound like she nearly drove, but then changed her mind. But the writer meant she drove for close to 6 hours. Moving almost next to 6 hours fixes it completely. She drove her car for almost 6 hours. The key difference between the two types is this. A dangling modifier has no subject to attach to. A misplaced modifier has a subject, but the modifier is too far away from it. Some words are notorious troublemakers when it comes to placement. The word only is the biggest offender. I only ate 2 biscuits sounds like eating was the only thing I did with them, as opposed to juggling them. I ate only 2 biscuits correctly limits the number. The same thing happens with just, nearly, and even. He just told the manager means he told them a moment ago. He told just the manager means nobody else was told. She nearly lost all her work suggests she came close to losing everything. She lost nearly all her work means most of it is gone. The fix is always the same. Put these words right next to the thing they are modifying. Let us work through some examples. Having finished the report, the printer was turned on. What is wrong here? The opening phrase, having finished the report, needs to describe whoever comes right after the comma. But the subject after the comma is the printer. So, according to the grammar, the printer finished the report. That is a dangling modifier. To fix it, we need to name the person who actually finished the report. Having finished the report, Amir turned on the printer. Now the modifier correctly describes Amir. Here are some examples that show why placement really matters. The patient was referred to a psychologist with severe anxiety. The way this is written, it is the psychologist who has severe anxiety, not very reassuring. The fix is to move the modifier next to patient. Next one, we saw kangaroos driving through the outback. This puts the kangaroos behind the wheel. To fix it, move the driving phrase to the front next to we. Driving through the outback, we saw kangaroos. And finally, the council discussed banning plastic bags on Tuesday. Were the bags only banned on Tuesdays, or was the discussion on Tuesday? Moving on Tuesday to the front of the sentence clears up the ambiguity completely. Let us look at the word only in detail, because it is the most commonly misplaced word in English. Watch how the same sentence changes meaning, depending on where only appears. only the manager approved the budget. This means nobody else approved it. The manager only approved the budget. This means the manager did nothing else with it besides approving. The manager approved only the budget. This means the budget was approved but nothing else was. Same words, 3 completely different meanings. Whenever you write the word only, pause and ask, what am I trying to limit? Then put only right next to that word. Now it is your turn. Pause and try these 3. Question 1. After reviewing the data, the conclusion was surprising. This is a dangling modifier. The conclusion did not review the data. We need to add who did. After reviewing the data, the researchers found the conclusion surprising. Question 2. The author only wrote 3 chapters before the deadline. The word only is next to wrote, but it should be limiting 3 chapters. Fixed. The author wrote only 3 chapters before the deadline. Question 3. Covered in mud. The volunteers helped the dog into the van. According to the grammar, the volunteers are covered in mud. If we mean the dog, we need to restructure. The volunteers helped the mud-covered dog into the van. Let us recap. A dangling modifier has no logical subject in the sentence. The person or thing doing the action is simply missing. A misplaced modifier has a subject, but the modifier is too far away from it, so it accidentally describes the wrong word. The golden rule for both is the same. Place every modifier directly next to the word it describes. Words like only, just, nearly, almost, and even are the most frequently misplaced. And remember, moving a single word can completely change the meaning of a sentence. The quick check is this. For any opening phrase, ask who or what is doing this action. The answer must appear immediately after the comma. If it does not, you have a modifier problem that needs fixing.